goes to a restaurant and orders a chicken dish. By the time the food is ready and he is about to eat, the waiter comes back and says, "Sir, I'm afraid there has been a mistake. You see, that police officer who is sitting at the next table is a regular customer of ours and he usually orders the chicken dish. The problem is, this is the last chicken in the house. I'm afraid I'll have to take this dish to him and arrange for another dish for you." The guy gets really upset and refuses to give up his food. The waiter walks over to the other table and explains the situation to the officer. A few minutes later, the officer walks over to the man's table and says, "Listen and listen good. That's my chicken you're about to eat and I'll warn you. Whatever you do to that chicken, I'll do the same to you. You pull out one of its legs, I'll pull out one of yours. You break one of its wings, I'll break one of your arms." The man calmly looks at the chicken, then sticks his middle finger in the bird's rectum, pulls it out and licks it. He then gets up, drops his pants. The wedding date was set and the groom's three pals, a carpenter, an electrician, and a dentist, were deciding what pranks to play on the couple on their wedding night. The carpenter figured swaying the slates of their bed would give them a chuckle or two. The electrician decided to wire the bed with alternating currents, of course. The dentist wouldn't commit himself, but wore a slide ring and promised it would be memorable. The nuptials went as planned, and a few days later, each of the groom's buddies received the following note: "Dear friends, we didn't mind the bed slates being swathed, and the electric shock was only a minor setback. But Jesus, I'm going to kill the guy who put anesthetic in the..." A 40-year-old woman wants to get married, but she is only willing to marry a man if he is still a virgin. After several unsuccessful years of searching, she decides to take out a personal ad. She ends up corresponding with a man who has lived his entire life in the Australian outback. They end up getting married. On their wedding night, she goes into the bathroom to prepare for the festivity. When she returns to the bedroom, she finds her new husband standing in the middle of the room naked, and all the furniture from the room piled in one corner. "What's happened?" she asks. "I've never been with a woman," he says. "But if it's anything like a kangaroo, I'm going to..." There is a boy and a girl in a religious education class. The girl falls asleep. The teacher asks a question: "Who created Earth?" The boy pokes her with a pen and she yells, "God." She falls back to sleep. The teacher asks another question: "Who were the Holy Family?" The boy pokes her with a pen and she says, "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph." She falls back to sleep. The teacher asks another question: "What did Mary say to Joseph after their 23rd baby?" The boy pokes her with a pen and she says, "If you stick bad things in me one more time, I swear I will snap." Father and son went hunting together for the first time. The father said, "Stay here and be very quiet. I'll be across the field." A little while later, the father heard the blood-curdling scream and ran back to his son. "What's wrong?" the father asked. "I told you to be quiet," the boy answered. "Look, I was quiet when the snake slithered across my feet. I was quiet when the bear breathed down up my neck. I didn't move a muscle when the skunk climbed over my shoulder. I closed my eyes and held my breath when the wasp stung me. I didn't cough when I swallowed the nuts. I didn't swear or scratch when the poison oak started itching, but when the two squirrels crawled up my trouser leg and one of them said, "Should we eat them here or take them with us?" Well, I guess I just panicked. A doctor recently had a patient drop in on him for an unscheduled appointment. "What can I do for you today?" the doctor asked. The aged gentleman replied, "Doctor, you must help me. Every time I make love with my wife, my eyes get all blurry, my legs go weak, and I can hardly catch my breath." "Doctor, I'm scared." The doctor, looking at his 86-year-old patient, said, "Mr. Smith, this sensation tends to happen over time, especially to a man of your advanced years. But tell me, how often do you notice these symptoms?" The old gent's response was, "Well, 3 times last night and 3 It was the talk of the town when an 80-year-old man married a 20-year-old girl. After a year, she went to a hospital to give birth. The nurse came out to congratulate the guy. "This is amazing. How do you do it at your age?" He answered, "You've got to keep that old motor running." The following year, she gave birth again. The same nurse said, "You really are amazing. How do you do it?" He again said, "You've got to keep the old motor running." The same thing happened the next year. The nurse said, "You must be quite a man." He responded, "You've got to keep that old motor running." The nurse then said, "Well, you had better change the oil. This won't..." A boy was walking down the street when he noticed his grandpa sitting on the porch in the rocking chair with nothing on, from the waist down. "Grandpa, what are you doing?" he asked. The old man looked off in the distance and did not answer him. "Grandpa, what are you doing sitting out here with nothing on below the waist?" he asked again. The old man slowly looked at him and said, "Well, last week I sat out here with no shirt on and I got a stiff neck. This is your grandpa." One day, a pregnant wife announced to her husband that she was going to start looking for names for their unborn child. When the father got home from work, the mother held up a baby look and said that if the baby was a girl, the name was going to be Ophelia. The husband didn't like the name, but he said, "That's a good name. It reminds me of a girl I dated in college." The next day, the mother had changed the name to Sophie. A woman goes into a dentist's office, and after he's through examining her, he says, "I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm going to have to drill a tooth." The woman then says, "Oh, the pain is so awful, I'd rather have a baby." To which the dentist replies, "Make up your mind, I have to..." A guy was playing golf and a golf ball hit him in the balls and he passed out. His friends took him to the doctor. The man asked him, "Well, what do you think, doc?" The doctor replied, "You're going to have to put him in socket for about a week." He then took 4 ton depressors and tied them all together with a string. The man's face looked disappointed. He told the doctor, "But tonight my girlfriend and I are going to have eggs for the first time." The doctor replied, "You're going to have the bear with it." Later that night, the man and his girlfriend were alone. She took off her shirt and grabbed her breasts. No one has ever seen this before. The man pulled out his k and said, "Well, mine's still in the crate."